Hello fellow bass players, this is Steve Kim in Seattle. Hope everyone's safe and well. Today we want to talk about chord scales, and in particular, the dominant bebop scale. So definition of a chord scale for our purposes would be any scale that supports the sound of the chord. And I've chosen the dominant chord because we find it so much in so many different types of music that we're going to play, and the dominant bebop because it provides a lot of strong motions, approaches, and chromaticism to the line. So the idea here then is if I have the C7 chord, that's C, E, G, B flat, and I add a non-harmonic tone between each of the chord tones. And between the seventh and the tonic of the scale, I'm going to add that B. Then I have an 8-note structure. And many times we hear the dominant bebop scale played descending. Now, the idea of the scale is that on every other note, the first note and the third note, we have a chord tone. The second note and the fourth note is the non-harmonic tone or non-chord tone. If we follow the confines of the scale, then these act as passing tones, the non-harmonic tones. And melodically, you would hear these starting from any of the 4 chord tones. Now, if we adapt these to quarter notes, they work very well to enunciate this chord, to sound the chord, because remember the first note will be a chord tone and the third note will be a chord tone. In a walking bass line, that would be beat 1 and beat 3. Beats 2 and 4 harmonically are weak, but rhythmically are strong, have the non-chord tone then. Now, if we wanted to look at those particular approaches, moving down, we have a half step B into the chord tone, the 7th B flat. A is a whole step into G, the 5th. F is a half step into the 3rd E, and D is a whole step into the C. Coming up, we have whole step into the E via D. F moves by whole step into the 5th G. A, the 6th, moves by half step into the 7th B flat, and half step B natural into the tonic C. If we play these in combination and use the embellishment swung 8th notes or triplets, we can use combinations of these approaches. So for example, if I'm starting in C on beat 1, and I'm going to end up on B flat on beat 3, I could play B half step above, A half step below, and then resolve to B flat. That would be a swung 8th. Or I could do it in triplets. Now, any of these combinations can be played either with either of the 2 notes as the first note. So for example, D and B natural resolve to C. So this would be whole step above, half step below, or half step below, whole step above. So I don't have to use the particular formula of half step and whole step that the scale provides. If I do, that's fine. I get the sound of the dominant bebop scale. But I can also employ those particular chromatic and scale-wise approaches anywhere. So although the dominant bebop scale doesn't have the note F sharp, for example, that is half step below into G. So half step below appears in the dominant bebop scale in a couple of places. B to C, A to B flat. So I'm just realizing that what was implied in the scale. So any of these approaches can be used on any of the chord tones. And remember, every other note is the chord tone. Now there's other ways to devise melodies and bass lines, but that's the formula we're talking about today. Every other note is a chord tone. In between those are the non-harmonic tones. Okay, I hope everyone stays well. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.